Councillor Perks to speak.
Thank you, Speaker. I have a motion. I move that City Council amend Recommendation 5A by replacing the words 2.0 residential with the words 4.26 residential, and that the tax increases on other classes be set in accordance with the currently recommended tax ratios, so that the recommendation now reads, and you can see the rest of the text there. I'd like to take as my point of departure for describing why I'm doing this something that Councillor Pasternak said. Councillor Pasternak said we should be very concerned with the impact of the budget that we're passing on low-income seniors in the City of Toronto. He's absolutely right. The lowest income seniors in the City of Toronto are those seniors who live in Toronto community housing. There are about 28,000 units in Toronto community housing that are seniors. All of them have less wealth and lower incomes generally than the seniors that Councillor Pasternak is concerned about. Further, if you are a truly low-income senior who owns your home, we forgive your tax increase. So this will cost $0. $0, the proposal I'm putting here for low-income seniors who own their own home. It will cost $0 to low-income seniors who are tenants either in Toronto community housing or in private market. Remember, in this budget, no tax increase affects tenants. In other words, what I'm proposing is that we ask those people in the City of Toronto who have the most wealth to put more money back into the system. And the reason I want to do that is so that we can afford the programs that help the people who truly are struggling to live in the City of Toronto, so that we can reverse the cuts that we're making in the shelter system, so that we can actually do something about what the city manager identified as the single biggest risk in the budget that we're about to approve, which is the risk of not putting money into Toronto community housing. I want you all to remember, starting in 2018 and finishing in 2021, Toronto community housing will close 7,000 units and declare another 14 as likely uninhabitable if we pass this budget and stay on this track. That's about people who can't even afford a home. So if you're concerned about affordability, you should be asking those of us who have some wealth, who have some ability to pay, to contribute to those who do not. That's the first thing to bear in mind. The second thing to bear in mind is that the cost we're actually asking people to pay is not a huge burden. If you support my motion, you are adding $62.50 to the cost of living in Toronto over a year for someone who owns a home that's worth more than $500,000. That's not even one trip a month, round trip on the TTC. Telling me that someone who has a $500,000 house cannot pitch in less than the cost of one round trip a month on the TTC so that we can put money back into making sure we don't close Toronto community housing units? If you're serious about affordability, if that's something more than a soundbite or a press conference or a way of spinning to you, you will support asking those Torontonians who've had some success to support those who are struggling. If you care about affordability, you will care about the people who are really having trouble affording to live in Toronto. And let's be clear, that tax rate applies differently to you depending on the value of your home. If you're in a $250,000 condominium unit, you don't pay $62.50 if you support my motion. You pay $31.25. If your house is worth $2 million, you're paying $125. So this is actually asking Torontonians to pay according to how much wealth they have to support the programs and the people who really can't afford to live in Toronto. If you use the word affordability, if you mean the word affordability, you'll support this motion.